Okay then, I'm back into the second part of this failed challenge. There are going to be 3 parts of this series. We did the first one, which had 10 teams. This one's probably also going to have 10 teams. And then part 3 is also going to have 10 teams to get all 30. The third part I'm going to have to record while I'm in England, so it's not going to always be as good, and I'm not going to have 2K footage in the background. Instead, I'm just going to have random stuff from London that I take videos of. And with that said, let's just get into the thing. To start off with, let's talk about the 76ers. They made some pretty big moves. They signed Al Horford to a 4-year, $109 million contract. I don't love this move. Seems pretty big for an aging player. But with all the stuff that he does, it seems like it might be worth it. Maybe. If he keeps doing the stuff that he's been doing for the Celtics the last couple years, they'll be good. Otherwise, no. They did lose Jimmy Butler, though, which is not good for them, because Jimmy Butler was a really big part for them in the playoffs. They did a sign and trade with him going to the Heat, and in that, they got Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson's a pretty good player, I think. They re-signed Tobias Harris to a 5-year, $180 million contract. This is okay, I guess. He's getting an average of $36 million a year, which I don't love, but he's a pretty good piece alongside Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. He can play small forward in this lineup, and their lineup will be really tall. Last year they overwhelmed players with their size, and if they did that with guys like Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick in the starting lineup, imagine what they'll do with a guy that's 6'10", 6'6", I think, 6'9", 6'10", and then 7'2" in Joel Embiid. It's gonna be a big team. Other people have made this point. I came to this conclusion also myself. So, yeah. In other news, they lost Boban Marjanovic, which splits up the eternal pairing of Bobby and Toby, and I am sad. Although I think they will get back together at some point. TJ McConnell went to the Pacers, so they replaced him with Raul Neto. Raul Neto's okay, he can shoot. He can definitely shoot better than TJ McConnell. He can probably do a lot of the same things that TJ McConnell could do. So maybe that's an improvement. They also managed to pick up Trey Burke, who can create offense, which is nice. So I think they could make the finals, but then again, so could pretty much every team. I think out of all the teams in the East, they have the best chance of doing it, because they have size and they have talent, and they have proven playoff performers like Al Horford and Al Horford, that's pretty much it. They managed to re-sign Mike Scott, which is good. People have been talking about a Ben Simmons trade, but I think with the pieces that they have now, that won't be a big problem. I think with these players, Ben Simmons will get more of an opportunity to thrive because he has shooters at 3 of the other 4 positions, and even you could say Joel Embiid is kind of a shooter. I mean, he can't shoot threes. He's no stretch big, but he can shoot threes. And even then, he provides so much offense that it's fine. So yeah, I think they're pretty good. Speaking of teams that could make the finals, the Brooklyn Nets. Wow, they managed to get KD and Kyrie, and then also DeAndre Jordan. KD's contract is actually not quite the max. It's 4 years, $160 million, player option at the end. Kyrie's contract is actually a lot smaller. It's 4 years, $130 million. Both took so much less money so that the Nets could sign DeAndre Jordan to a 4-year, $36 million contract. I don't like this deal. They already had Jarrett Allen, but I guess it's fine if signing DeAndre Jordan was the only way to get KD and Kyrie, but it is still a lot of money for an aging replaceable center. They have a good supporting cast. They still have Spencer Dinwiddie on a decent contract. They have Joe Harris for one more year and hopefully more. Darren Williams' money is only on the books for this coming year. They managed to get Garrett Temple, Taurean Prince they traded for, Karis LeVert they still have. Wilson Chandler can replace both Damari Carroll and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. I mentioned Jarrett Allen. He can do a lot of the stuff that DeAndre Jordan can, but he could end up potentially being better than him at it. And he's younger, and he's still really good. Rodions Kurucs is showing more good signs. I think the Nets are in a pretty good spot here. I think KD's injury means that they won't make the finals this year, but I guess that depends on when he comes back and how he comes back and how good he is. But even so, they have Kyrie, so at least they could, shoot for a third seed, second round out. They'll be fine, and then they can make the finals next year. So yeah, they're still in a pretty good spot, even if they don't make the finals this year. Let's talk now about the Portland Trailblazers. They signed Dame to a Supermax 4-year extension with a $54 million player option in 2025, so they'll probably be paying a 34-year-old Damian Lillard $54 million. And CJ McCollum's contract is up after next year, so they'll probably end up re-signing him to a big contract too. Now they did make some good salary cap free moves for the future, so they traded away Evan Turner, who had one good game in the playoffs last year, for Kent Bazemore, who is a good 3-and-D player, and he's also on a 1-year contract. They traded away some of their 2-year guys. They traded away Myers Leonard and Maurice Harkless to get Hassan Whiteside, who not only can replace Yusuf Nurkic until he returns from his terrible leg injury, but he can also play really well just on his own, and he's on a 1-year deal, albeit a near $30 million 1-year deal. Yusuf Nurkic, as I said, he is probably going to return. He's on a really good salary. His last year is non-guaranteed, but they'll probably keep him for that much money. They have Rodney Hood on a 1+1 year deal. That's a good value contract. He was good for them last year. Zach Collins is a good young player. Anthony Tolliver, they got for really good value. They just signed Pau Gasol, who's a good veteran presence. And then they have a bunch of guys that don't matter. A little bit of dead money and some young guys, which I guess is okay. Now the players they will have on contract after this season are going to be Dame and CJ, Yusuf Nurkic, Rodney Hood probably, Zach Collins, they'll have Andrew Nicholson's money, Scalabissiere if they pick it up, Anthony Simons, Nasir Little. Nasir Little was a good college player, so that's good. Anderson Varejão's money, Mario Hezonja, maybe, and Gary Trent Jr. That's not the best roster, but if they can make moves like the ones that they made this year, they can probably make up for the averageness. Now, can they keep consistent with all the improvements that were made in the West? Well, I heard some people make the point that consistency is good, and basketball's a rhythm sport, and sometimes changing it up, making super big moves don't always shoot you to the top. The Lakers. But I think that maybe eventually, with age and stuff, they will end up dropping out of the playoffs. I think this year they're definitely going to be a lower seed, like below 3. I don't know about how they'll do in the first round. They might be okay. So I don't know. Everyone says this about them every single year. Last year was their best year. They were the 3rd seed and they reached the conference finals. So maybe they won't. But it's still really uncertain. I mean, nothing is pretty much in the West or in the NBA in general. Now, the Dallas Mavericks were about to get some pretty okay pieces with the Miami Heat trade, but as we know, the Heat ended up instead trading Hassan Whiteside to the Blazers to free up the cap space. So now they don't get Kelly Olynyk or Derrick Jones Jr. And I guess that's fine because they don't need that much depth. They already have Dorian Finney-Smith. They already have guys like Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber, who are okay. And then, of course, they have the big two of Luka and Porzingis. They are Eurocentric. I've made the pun. So many people have made the pun. I don't really know about their remaining supporting cast, though. I mean, they have, again, Powell, Finney-Smith. Jalen Brunson was good for them last year. Tim Hardaway Jr., I don't know. I haven't looked at his numbers, but he's okay at stuff, I guess. He can come off the bench. Courtney Lee, maybe he can start. Maybe he's just too old and too bad at stuff. But he's on a 1-year contract, so that's pretty good. Boban is a good locker room presence, but other than that, they don't have much. I think if they can get the right pieces around Luka and Porzingis, they can win a championship. But until then, they don't really have much of a chance of making it out of the first round. That is, eventually they probably will win a championship. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they definitely will within the next 2 or 3. But beyond then, I think they have to build a championship level team. Let's talk about the Wizards now. They offered Bradley Beal a max extension because he's going to be a free agent in 2021. But there is an alternate route to all of this. And before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about Tommy Shepard, the Wizards' new general manager. The Wizards have said good things about him. They say that they're being more collaborative, they're being just better at being a team. Tommy himself thinks that he can turn the whole team around just with the pieces that he has within 1 or 2 years. But if he somehow changes his mind, there is another way. They just completely overturn the roster. And there is a specific trade that I have in mind. That would be moving Bradley Beal, John Wall, and maybe Jan Mahimi to the Toronto Raptors for Marc Gasol, Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, Serge Ibaka, and maybe they don't include VanVleet, but either way, they get all the expiring contracts in the world. Maybe lose out on one, but having Fred VanVleet would mean they have 3 solid but not great point guards. And the Raptors could have VanVleet instead, which would make more sense roster-wise. And it's about the same salary-wise. So I think they will do that. The Raptors could end up signing DeMarcus Cousins in the future to pair alongside Beal and Wall when Wall comes back. Wall's probably going to miss this season completely, so that's going to be a problem for them. And if they don't do this, then Tommy Shepard's probably going to find some way to turn this around. He might even sign DeMarcus Cousins himself. And I think that the Raptors just lose all those expiring contracts and then shoot down to the bottom and do a full-on rebuild. Now, the Wizards also do have some interesting young players. They have Troy Brown Jr., who can make plays. People have compared him to Tyreek Evans. He'll be an okay player. They traded for the 3 guys from the Lakers, namely Moritz Wagner, who is pretty good. He can shoot, he can post up, he can do some stuff, but I wouldn't go crazy over him unlike the Wizards did. Thomas Bryant was honestly pretty great for them. CJ Miles is on a 1-year deal. He's okay. He can shoot. He's not young though. Davis Bertans, they have him on a 1-year deal. They're probably trying to re-sign him next year. They got him from the Spurs. He's okay. Ish Smith, they signed him to a 2-year contract. Rui Hachimura is a great rookie to pick up. People have compared him to Paul Millsap, but I think he has potential that's above that. Isaiah Thomas is on a 1-year deal. I don't know how much he'll get to play. He'll probably come off the bench. And they got Jonathan Simmons' contract, and then they waived him. I don't know. I hope they figure it out. I don't know if Bradley Beal's gonna actually take that max extension, but I think he will, but he still might not. If he doesn't, that's fine. If he does, and they do try and rebuild around Wall and Beal, then that's fine, but it's not ideal. I guess Tommy Shepard is okay. I don't know, I got this whole thing from Sporting Logically, so this is just my opinion on his idea. And for the Raptors, they're probably going to end up in a rebuild in some way, shape, or form. Because Kyle Lowry's on an expiring contract, and everyone they have is either a young guy or an expiring contract. So that's pretty good for them. I think both these teams are in okay spots, but not great. Toronto, congratulations, you won the championship last year. It's too bad Kawhi left, but it's might end up being fine. Let's talk about the Jazz. Now their big move was trading for Mike Conley. The official deal went something like Mike Conley for Kyle Korver, Jay Crowder, Grayson Allen, Darius Bazley, who they traded away for something, and then a future protected first-round pick next year. Now, they gave up a great shooter in Korver, a good switchable 3-and-D guy in Jay Crowder, a rookie, and a pick, and then also a guy who could end up developing into a good shooter in Grayson Allen. I don't know, he looked like a bust, but that's okay pieces. But what they really gave up for a star was the ability to do stuff on defense. But I think that's fine because Mike Conley is good enough of a defender to make up for that. He's a good perimeter defender. He can at least guard point guards. And they still have some switchability in Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, guys like that. So in that department, they'll be fine. They made some small, low-key moves. They signed, I think, Emmanuel Mudiay. Yeah, they signed Emmanuel Mudiay. They got Bojan, who's a great shooter. He can replace Kyle Korver. And they made some other small signings that added some depth, like Ed Davis, who's okay. They lost Derek Favors, but they didn't really ultimately need Derek Favors to be great. Mike Conley is a great fit alongside Donovan Mitchell. Mike Conley is an amazing fit alongside Donovan Mitchell. He can defend and help Mitchell play. He's a good playmaker. He can play off the ball. He can pass first to Donovan Mitchell. He can do pretty much anything that you need him to do as a point guard. He can hold the team up for the first half of the season while they get warmed up, and then Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell can just carry them through the second half, and they'll end up probably being a great team. So, yeah, I think that they will end up as a 3rd seed or 4th, maybe even 5th seed. I could see them honestly even ending up as an 8th seed. Anything can happen in the NBA. Now let's talk about the other side of that deal, the Memphis Grizzlies. They traded away Mike Conley, got a guy that they waived, got a guy that they might keep, but I don't know. They got a guy who they might play a lot, but they have so many other guys that they could play that I don't know if they will. And then they also got a guy that they traded away. And actually, they traded away Kyle Korver and managed to snag up Josh Jackson and DeAnthony Melton. Jackson has the potential to be at least a good defensive player, but his offense is DeAnthony Melton showed really good signs as a rookie last year, but he probably won't end up being anything special. They unfortunately lost DeLon Wright. They did manage to turn it into a sign and trade where they got draft picks. They also took Tyus Jones from the Wolves, albeit for a bit of a high price, but I guess it's fine. John Morant is going to be great for them. So is Jaren Jackson Jr. They signed Jonas Valanciunas to a good value contract. They have Kyle Anderson, who is there. He was okay last year. He got injured, though. I mean, they probably just put him away for rest. But, you know. They have apparently Dwight Howard now for the last year of his contract. Bruno Caboclo was pretty good for them last year. Dylan Brooks has shown good signs. Yvonne Robb is also showing good signs. They have some guys on two-way contracts. They have some guys on expiring big contracts. Jay Crowder might be a good mentor for Josh Jackson. Andre Iguodala is actually a pretty nice trade piece for them. So if they could get him in a move, then they could probably get something good for him. This year doesn't look so great, but the future for them, that is looking awesome. Okay, second to last team now, the Suns. They've improved a little bit. They signed Ricky Rubio to a contract that I think was kind of big, but I guess it's okay given that he is a point guard who can help them with the stuff that they need, namely defense, just smartness with the ball, being able to teach the young players stuff, getting them going, being a playmaker who can also play off of Devin Booker. But his fit wasn't great in Utah, so I'm not sure how great it will be in Phoenix. The contract officially is 3 years, $51 million. Again, pretty big. That's about $25 million a year, $20 million like at the least per year for Ricky Rubio, which I don't love. I'm a Wolves fan. He's a Wolves legend. I love him, but he's just not worth that money. They traded away Josh Jackson in order to re-sign Kelly Oubre, but they brought in Aaron Baines, which doesn't make sense, given that he's basically just a more expensive Richaun Holmes. They also traded away TJ Warren, who was good for them last year. That's fine. He was a good player, but he was never going to be a long-term fit. But trading away Josh Jackson, it wasn't the best move. Especially if all you wanted was to re-sign Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre is nice and all, but he's not worth also trading away Josh Jackson. They have still the young guys. Devin Booker, of course, is great. Kelly Oubre, who they traded away all those pieces for, he can do stuff. Mikal Bridges is very good. Eli Okubo is still there, but they do have Tyler Johnson, who is basically Ricky Rubio, but a bit worse, but also a better shooter. So, I don't really understand what the Rubio signing does for them. They need to give the young players more time to develop. DeAndre Ayton should be very good. Frank Kaminsky, power forward, he'll be okay. Dario Saric, great pickup. Jarrett Culver, who at this point would just be another wing, was definitely worth it. I don't love what the Suns have done. It'll shoot them up from awful to mediocre, and then Devin Booker will want to leave. So, F you, Robert Sarver. Final team, the San Antonio Spurs. They almost signed Marcus Morris, but they lost out on him. They still have DeRozan and Aldridge, who are stars. They still have Greg Popovich for at least the next couple years, who will coach them through whoever knows what. They lost Davis Bertans, but they brought in Damari Carroll, who is like an older Davis Bertans who can also defend better. Losing those guys suck, but they did manage to keep guys like Rudy Gay and bring in Carroll. So now they have a lot of defensive versatility. They can switch. They can be more modern, I think, which kind of balances out the traditional stuff with DeRozan and Aldridge. DeJounte Murray is coming back from his bad injury that he suffered in the Summer League. Why did he have to suffer an injury in the Summer League that put him out for the whole season? I don't know, but it was really bad. Anyway, DeJounte Murray and Derek White was good last year. Bryn Forbes was pretty good. They'll have to find a way to figure out the rotation of those four guys, have two of those on the floor at all times. I think they put DeRozan at small forward, sometimes playing him at shooting guard alongside like Derek White or something, or Bryn Forbes, and then have Aldridge at center would be the best move for them. Those guys might hit the market both in 2021, so that's two more free agents to consider for that year. They might make the playoffs, they might not. If they do, it's probably the last year, but then again, I said that about them last year, so who knows? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. I should probably mention Lonnie Walker. I don't know if he played at all last year. He'll probably be good for the Spurs. The Spurs have a knack for developing talent. I mean, they got Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Bryn Forbes, all those guys. They've done all these legends just out of nowhere. They pulled out of their pockets. And now they have Lonnie Walker, who could possibly be like the next, I don't know, Manu Ginobili. So that is obviously another thing. It's the Spurs, man. I don't know. They're really good. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, all the stuff that everyone likes to do for YouTube. My channel is small. I don't really care, but please help me grow, maybe, I don't know. Hope you enjoyed part 2. It was shorter than the other parts. Let's make part 3 the same. Please put this on in the background of something instead of me watching me play mediocre 2K footage for half an hour. Okay, have a good day. Do basketball. Goodbye.